Good morning and welcome to United First Parish Church, whoever you are, whomever you love, wherever you are on your journey. Welcome to our Unitarian Universalist spiritual community. We are delighted to welcome anyone who may be visiting us. You can learn more about our community by going to our website, UFPC.org. I'm Sharon Gamache and I'll be serving as your worship associate this morning. Nan Moore will be worship leader. Assisting worship leaders this morning on screen and behind the screen are Jamie Grassman, who will be the host running technical aspects of our service, Anne Marie Willer, who is the digital usher, and David Bosquin, who will be assisting Nan Moore at our church. We're pleased to welcome Nan Moore into our online pulpit this morning as our guest preacher. Nan was the Director of Religious Education serving UU churches for more than 20 years, with final retirement ending here at UFPC. She then went on to be a clinical pastoral education program at Brigham and Women's Hospital. Upon completion of CPE, she provided chaplain services to Good Shepherd Community Care, Hospice, and Pediatric Palliative Care in Newton. Nan then completed a 2-year certification process at Roe UU Conference Center in a Unitarian Universalist spiritual direction and guidance program. Nan is currently here at UFPC, and she's is a commissioned and affiliate lay community minister. She resides 6 months a year on Cape Cod, Massachusetts, and 6 months in Morrisshire, Scotland. And I just want to say that I had a great delight working with Nan for several years on their RE committee when she was here head of religious education. The order of service for this morning can be downloaded from our UFPC website at ufpc.org. We'll also be pasting hymn lyrics in the chat as we go, and some will be on video. For our online worship services, we invite you to go ahead and leave your video on so that we might see one another in gallery view, even though we are physically apart. Note that we are recording this morning's service to be posted on YouTube at a later date. So if you'd prefer not to be seen in the recording, please turn off your video. Also, if you are having a poor connection at any point during the service, it might help to turn your video off. We invite everyone to stay online after the service for our virtual coffee hour. And this morning, our social hour will include the option of a breakout groups or to reflect on the theme of today's service. Now let us center ourselves for worship by taking a deep breath together, feeling the spirit of life and love that moves within, between, and beyond us all.
I now invite you to join me in the sound of Om. Om is a sacred sound that is known generally as the sound of the universe. Om is an encompassing and an essence of ultimate reality and unifies everything in the universe. May we unify together in worship with the sound of 3 Oms. Our call to worship, 12th century Sufi master, Muslim scholar, as well as an insightful poet and mystic, Rumi calls us to worship this morning. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving. It doesn't matter. Ours is not a caravan of despair. Come, even if you've broken your vows 1,000 times. Come, yet again come. As we listen, not with the mind, but with the heart of Rumi's words, let the beauty we love be who we are. There are hundreds of ways to kneel and kiss the ground. I invite you with me to light the chalice or candle, whatever you have present with you this morning. Let the beauty we love be what we do. There are hundreds of ways to kneel and kiss the ground.
Please join us in reciting the covenant of our church. As a free fellowship of this historic church, we unite to lift our hearts and open our minds to a larger reality, to accept support and encourage one another, to seek the wisdom in all religions, and to cherish and sustain the web of life, and to strive for justice, compassion, and peace. Join us in singing our first hymn, Let us lift our voices in song to sing Love, Serve, and Remember, written by John Aston and performed by Kathy Zavada. The words will be in the video.
It's an important question to ask at the end of the year. Why have we come? Why are we here? So join me as we sing the answer. Remember
Good morning. I'm so happy to be here for the Message for All Ages. So as Sharon had mentioned, I worked for hospice and pediatric palliative care. So one day I was visiting a young boy. He was about 7 years old. And we were talking about peace. And I asked him, or he asked me, he said, well, what is peace? And I thought, wow, how am I going to answer this question? And I don't know, it just kind of came to me. And I said to him, well, if you take all the air in your lungs and you expand them and you feel a lot of almost tension, or you can't take in any more of your breath. So you bring in your breath, and then ever so slowly you release. And then you move ever so slightly. That's what peace is. So we tried it, we did it together. And I'm going to invite you this morning to join with me and fill your lungs with air until you feel you cannot take in another breath. And then I'd like you to release and then move ever so slightly to feel a sense of peace. So with me, breathe in, release. And then move ever so slightly. That is how we hold peace.
Let's take another deep breath together as we open our hearts for sharing our joys and sorrows. This is a time to briefly share the life milestones that lift your spirits, enjoy or hope, or the pains and losses that fill you with heartache. As we enter this time of sharing, we light a candle of joy, knowing that a joy shared is a joy magnified. And we light a candle of sorrow, knowing that a sorrow shared is a sorrow diminished. If you wish to acknowledge a sorrow or joy from your heart, I invite you to raise your hand and unmute your mic when our digital usher, Anne-Marie Willer, calls you by your name. Let us open our hearts to one another. Of these candles and the compassion of this community remind us that wherever we are on our journeys, we are each worthy of love and we are each able to love.
I'd just like to take a moment for a prayer before I sound the singing bowl. May all the wishes and hopes for our friends and our family and ourselves during this time, and for all our joys and our concerns, may we hold them with love and an open heart. And if we remember, when we think of our friends or our family members, they're asking for our prayers. So when they come to mind, may we just offer them a prayer of love. And remember that the blessings of family and friendship is a sacred relationship to be nurtured, cared for, and held with a tender heart. I invite you into a time of quiet contemplation and moments of peaceful meditation. I'd like you to take a few breaths and breathe in and feel that tension in your body. Release. And move ever so slightly, feeling a sense of your centeredness and your wholeness within your entire body. May we enjoy a time of quiet in community. May we experience peace in this present moment. Today in the silence, we are one. One breath, one heart, one love, oneness.
One by one, everyone comes to remember we're healing the world, one heart at a time. One by one, everyone comes to remember we're healing the world, one heart at a time. One
The reading this morning it's words by Dr. Zach Bush, and this is called Beauty. We need to see and we need to act differently towards each other in the face of beauty. We don't need a revolution, we need an evolution. We need to evolve past our fear to love and find love is not a thing, it's an experience. Love is not the fabric of everything. The fabric of everything is beauty, and our reaction to seeing beauty is love. We need to evolve past our fear to love and find love is not a thing, it is an experience. Love is not the fabric of everything. The fabric of everything is the beauty, and our reaction to seeing beauty is love. So good morning, everyone. It's really nice to be here with you this morning. First Parish is a place very close to my heart and comfortable in so many ways. This morning, this music that I presented is music that we sing at Findhorn, which is a community, a spiritual community that I participate in Scotland. So it's really just nice to be able to share these chants and just beautiful music with you. I don't know how many of you are familiar or who have contemplated the question, are you living a good quality of life? The first time I really became familiar with this phrase is when I worked for hospice. This question usually came up for patients prior to the end of their physical life. I wonder, why do we wait to contemplate this question at the end of life? And why not ask ourselves now, am I living a good quality of life? Today, I invite you into my personal stories. Stories are a way that we connect to each other and how we also get to know each other in a different way. And stories can evoke things within us that maybe are resting or asleep. I came to explore this question as a map of healing and fullness in my own life. For each one of us, quality of life has a unique meaning. We take this contemplation and question as a mirror to see how we are choosing to live, even in the eyes of adversity, in this mysterious time, in this mysterious year of 2020. Focusing on the quality of my life brought me insights as I faced significant changes over a 5-year period. Each year I got closer and closer to its meaning. With my own health, losses, sheltering in place due to COVID-19, I looked for inspiration and answers within myself and my inner landscape, not outside of myself. This is where it begins. In 2013, I was working here at United First Parish Church as the Director of Religious Education, and I was also working for hospice. In November of 2012, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. I was like, whoa, that was a surprise. I had surgery and retired after 20 years of service in Unitarian Universalist congregations. I just couldn't do it all anymore. January 2013, I had surgery and radiation for 6 weeks. Every day while working at hospice, I would drive myself to radiation treatments at Dana-Farber in the middle of my workday, and I would go back to work. I have an incredible work ethic that was a conditioning instilled in me by my parents. In April of 2013, I decided to leave my marriage of 37 years, mostly because I was lonely within the marriage. I loved spiritual development and change, and he liked golf and resisting change. Our children were grown, and we had outgrown each other. We remained in a relationship without angerness or bitterness, and today we're friends. You don't create a family together who you have raised and coming into loving and caring adults without a deep gratitude for the experience of being in a family. During the time between 2013 and 2015, I had many losses. My health situation, my divorce, the loss of my family, the choice I made to leave my family home, and my mother died October 15th, 2015, 1 week before my divorce was final. As a hospice chaplain, I was constantly supporting people during their time of loss, and yet I could not support myself in times of my own losses. But I was in touch that I was in a lot of personal grief. In 2016, I went to Findhorn in Scotland to attend a workshop called Experience Week. I met people from all over the world and made many new friendships. Something happened when I was there. It was the 1-year anniversary of my mother's death to the day that I went, and I found myself in this magical community, which I would describe as a spiritual Hobbitville. It was a community I felt connected to because there were conversations of spirituality, beliefs, meditation practices, synchronicity, learning, international culture, holistic care, and the integration of art, music, and dancing all throughout the Findhorn environment. All things which really engaged me and made me feel a sense of aliveness. After my week in Scotland, I felt changed in a really subtle way, and I couldn't stop thinking about Findhorn. It felt like it was calling me in some way. So a few months later, I decided to go to another Scotland retreat, but it was on Iona Island. Iona is an ancient, mystical, and sacred place. Many kings of Scotland have chosen Iona to be their burial place. Iona history can be traced back to the original place of the Druids, which was taken over by a Christian monk by the name of Columba. I was there for Holy Week and it was an experience that I never forgot, but that's a whole other story. Right now, right before I left for Iona, I had 2 female hospice patients my age who died, and 2 children in pediatric palliative care who passed away at ages 13 and 6. I got word of the 6-year-old's passing while I was on Iona. The accumulative and intensity of the grief I felt at that time was palpable. When I returned to work, something was different. It was easy visiting the patients and the families, but it was the documentation, the meetings, the politics that was draining my energy. Being with patients is what I found to be the most meaningful, not the business part. For a month, I wondered if I could afford to take a leave of absence for 6 months to reset, deal with my own losses, and see what would come up next for me. I wasn't sure if I could go back to hospice work because what I know, I was on my way to burnout, and if I didn't stop then there would be no chance of ever returning. I really love pastoral care and end-of-life care. I wanted to stay open to the return if I chose to. I felt my health deteriorating with exhaustion, emotional and physical and spiritual fatigue. I decided to take a personal sabbatical, spending 6 months in Scotland and taking a hospice break and really just rest. But I always worked and wondered what I would do. So through some synchronistic events, an old friend told me about the UU Spiritual Direction Program at Rowe Conference Center. I thought while I was away and on break, it would be meaningful for me to be learning something new and maybe a new career. I participated in a 2-year certification process and became a spiritual direction guide, which I completed in 2019. After the 6-month sabbatical, I came back to the States and I knew I wanted to go back for another winter. So I returned with the intention of seeing if maybe it would be possible for me to purchase a flat. That way, it was actually cheaper to own a home than to rent, and I did love Scotland. In February 2019, I put my condo on the Cape for sale, got a cash buyer, and it sold in 1 week. To me, that was a real sign. By April, I found a flat in Forest, and put an offer in, and I closed that May. What intrigued me about the Findhorn area of Scotland is that I could see myself aging and having a much better quality of life there. I did Kaylee dancing, joined a Thich Nhat Hanh Sangha, participated in Sunday morning Teze singing, brunches, celebrated the solstices and the equinoxes, the full moon and the new moon events. I volunteered cooking with a group, weekly feeding over 50 people on one given sitting. What I appreciated about it is I felt comfortable and it had a sense of home. When I closed on my flat May 19th, I started to have some issues with my digestion, thinking I was maybe becoming gluten-free or gluten sensitive. I go through the summer and I'm having pain, but thinking it's my diet, so I just stopped eating processed foods. In the beginning of summer, I had a pain attack that was so intense that I went to my PCP. They gave me blood work and they didn't find anything. At the same time, I'm seeing my homeopathy doc, who I've seen for over 30 years. He was also helping me with my digestive system. One night, I have another horrible attack after eating lasagna. I knew something wasn't right, so I called Mahmuda, who's a member here at First Parish, and asked her for some medical direction. She advised me to request for some specific blood tests. So I go to my PCP on that Friday, and while I'm being examined, I have another bad attack. It was a feeling of like having contractions for those of you who have given birth, and just a real intensity of a tightening and releasing. PCP suggested a CAT scan the first thing on Saturday morning. So within an hour of having the test, my PCP called me and wanted me to go to the ER at Brigham and Women's because I had a bowel obstruction. The PCP said the ER was equipped to do further testing, and then that was the best place for me. Plus I wasn't able to eat for about 4 days. So I'm by myself in the ER, and a doctor comes into the room and said, the CT scan concluded that I had colon cancer. I was like, what? Like, that cannot be true. I was in shock. I had absolutely no idea. I automatically began to cry. She leaves me in the room and I'm overwhelmed, sitting there in shock. Like, this like can't be happening. Then another doc comes in and tells me the scan showed that I had the tumor that was in and around my colon the size of a lemon, which was believed to be stage 2, 3, or 4. Again, I start to cry, but this time I take the sheets and I put them over my face, over my head, like a child watching a scary movie and not wanting to see anything that was happening at that time. It's actually a pretty good metaphor for me. They admitted me and I was on the gurney coming out of ER, and all of a sudden I have this question. Should I have bought that place in Scotland? And immediately I get this answer. That's exactly what you should have done. From that moment on, this became a really important component to the decisions I made and to what my process was going to be for healing. In that moment, my life changed. And I was about ready to reset and reprioritize, to wake up to what I value in my life. When I get to my room, they order another CT scan to make sure that the cancer did not metastasize to my brain and my liver. I knew that this was so serious. I'm in the hospital for 2 weeks, and from the beginning, when treatment was discussed, I decided that I did not want to have IV chemo. And I repeatedly told the doctors that while I was in the hospital. When the pathology came back and it was stage 3, the surgeon told me that the only treatment is IV chemo. So I had stage 3 colon cancer. I had seen so much in hospice. I knew so much around medical care and end-of-life care. And I did not want to have a debilitating, lasting effect that would interfere with my quality of life. That was just my personal choice. Now I'm in the oncologist's office to discuss treatment with my son and a friend who's a hospice nurse. The doc tells me IV chemo is the only form of treatment. I said I wasn't going to have it. I told her I can accept the natural course of my own death, and I did not want to have treatment that would have long-lasting effects and interfere with the quality of my life. My son asked the doc, how long would I live if I didn't have the chemo? The doctor said 2 years, maybe 2 years. Again, I was not having it, and maybe I could do diet or homeopathy and just supplements and no chemo. The oncologist then said to me, there was another option that I could take. I could take a chemo pill. With the IV chemo, I had 70% chance of success. And with the pill, I had 35 to 50% success rate. And the side effects were not as severe as the IV chemo. I told the oncologist that I needed to go back to Scotland in December to heal and recover in my forest flat. I knew I would have a good quality of life no matter what happened. My doctor was willing to give me the chemo pill, but she said in good consciousness, she could not just give me a bunch of pills and send me to Scotland. She happened to have another doc friend in Scotland, and they set me up to be monitored while I had treatment. I made my own decisions, and I chose what felt best for me with confidence, a combination of traditional and holistic care. Then in March, COVID hits. When COVID happened, I was very aware having chemo put me in a most vulnerable group. I had friends who got groceries and regularly checked in on me. I was tired from my treatment, so I pretty much stayed at home. The first week or two was great not having to go anywhere. I think most people can relate to that. I made sure I ate well, I juiced, I took my chemo supplements, I took my chemo and the supplements. I was able to focus only on myself, which was actually the gift to me of the virus. There wasn't much I could do because of having chemo brain, which was an inability to concentrate and having a lot of forgetfulness. I made sure to be out in nature every day for short walks because that was all I could do. Sheltering in place was an opportunity for me to heal, rest, and access my internal spiritual life. Then after about 9 weeks, I started to feel depressed. I listened to podcasts on conspiracy theories and found myself taking a slow dive into depression, which went on for about a week or two. My energy became depleted and my spirit became flat, realizing there is a complexity to this virus. Then there was this moment I remember thinking, there is something so unhealthy about this situation, and that it was not natural for human beings to be separated and alone. Loneliness is the watering grounds for addictions and fear. I felt that this is not living. So now, how do I find the quality of life in all of this? I stepped back and went inside to hear myself, where my soul speak. It was time to discern all the information about COVID, being safe but not compromising my mental health to only protect my physical health. I needed to have whole health. And that's what this disease had taught me. I began to look at the 7 dimensions of a spiritual, of the quality of a spiritual life. And I'd like to share these with you. 1 was to find meaning in my life. 2 was to give and receive love while being connected to humanity with self-acceptance. 3, living a moral and ethical life. Have hope, be grateful, and experience moments of peace. Appreciate art in all its forms, music and dance, as the most powerful creative force that we can connect to for healing. 6, be in union with the spirit of many names and create rituals that will bless any time of day, event, and to offer a space of valued meaning. Lastly, let death be a teacher of fearlessness and embrace our ability to forgive and to be forgiven. Around April, someone from Findhorn sent me a podcast by this Dr. Bush, and I got very interested in the message. He's a physician, a hospice doctor, an endocrinologist who studies the microbiome and gut health. His words brought me to a deeper understanding of death. Even though I had touched it, I kind of went into this deeper understanding and even being more at peace. He said that death is a second birth, and he had this visual to explain this sensory experience. I personally believe in reincarnation, so it resonated with me that death is a second birth into a space of light, love, peace, compassion, comfort, and no pain. Once I came to be with this death experience in this way, there was a full acceptance, and the mental formation of any fear has absolutely been dissolved from my psyche. For me to accept my life will end when my karmic journey ends, when I've learned what I've needed to learn here, when I've loved how I've needed to love and be loved here, how I've served, and to really remember the quality of my life. I then began to live a new way fearlessly. I know death as an observer from many perspectives. I've come to realize if I did not take any meds after my surgery, death was imminent. Realizing my entire life has been about giving and receiving love, serving to others, and remembering to live this good quality of life, I am totally at peace. Death was close, and none of us ever know when our lives on earth will conclude. But what is true is life is filled with beginnings and endings, beginning with birth and ending with death. Accepting death has given me the freedom to live with a new tenderness of consciousness. I cherish my connection. I cherish my children. I cherish my grandchildren and the many friends that really helped me through one of the most difficult times of my life. I believe in the value of belonging to community, and I believe that aliveness is its life force. So my friends, this is my personal understanding of quality of life. When a situation happens, we are faced with the resetting our lives because everything has changed from what we knew. We wake up to what is valued, relationships with family and friends central to love, kindness, and forgiveness. Never look back because the past is really just a memory. See your life in the day and in each moment. Embrace whatever it is you are doing from a perspective of having the best quality of a spiritual life. meaningful, learning, walking in nature, at one with your source, being with beloved friends and family. Listen to everything with your full attention, embracing and appreciating art in its many forms. And forgive yourself as a practice to learn how to forgive others. That's it. This is your life. One by one, we are healing, one heart at a time. May your troubles be less and your blessings be more. Live consciously of what matters, the people whom you love, and with the understanding that your quality of life matters. Blessings be.
Take, oh, take me as I am. Summon out what I shall be. Set your seal upon my heart and live in me. Take, oh, take me as I am. Summon out what I shall be. Set your seal upon my heart and live in me. Take, oh, take me as I am, just as I am. Summon out what I shall be. Set your seal upon my heart and live in me. Take, oh, take me as I am, just as I am. Summon out what I shall be. Set your seal upon my heart and live in me. Take, oh, take me as I am, just as I am. Take, oh, take me as I am, just as I am. Take, oh, take me as I am.
We drink from wells we did not dig, and we sit in the shade of trees we did not plant. As recipients of all we have received from those who have come before us, we are called to share our abundance with those who will come after us. As a voluntary association, our church is sustained through the gifts of the members and friends of this congregation. Your generosity makes it possible for us to hold online worship services, workshops, and small groups, even in these unusual times. Your generosity allows us to be faithful stewards of our historic buildings so that they will continue to be a place of sanctuary and learning when it is once again too safe to gather in person. Your generosity helps us to strive for justice and live our congregation's values in the wider world. Please take this moment to visit our website and consider clicking on the donate button located on the homepage of our website, ufpc.org. Let us open our hearts as these gifts to support our works of United First Parish Church are joyfully given and gratefully received.
Dear friends, life is a blessing no matter where we are in our lives. There is a blessing in the aloneness, in the quiet, and in the solitude of our spiritual source. It is in the silence where we hear the answers. Today, may we touch the presence of the Holy within as we go into our day, holding peace. In Hebrew, Arabic, Hindi, Spanish, and English. Shalom, salam, shanti, paz, and may peace be with you every day and in every way.
I'm going to make a few announcements. Every week we have the Director of Religious Education, Joan McDonald, creates a children's chapel service for families to watch on their own time. Those videos can be found on the Religious Education page of our UFPC website, and we'll paste the link in the chat. Every Thursday afternoon, we host a Black Lives Matter standout in cooperation with Quincy for Transformative Change from 3:30 to 5:30 on the front steps of the church. We hope you will join us as we bring this message to the heart of Quincy. And even if you can come for 20 minutes, a half an hour, that's fine. But it is from 3:30 to 5:30. And here are a few of the upcoming programs that you can read more about in our announcements. But there'll be several things related to the holidays, including a great UFPC holiday baking Zoom, which will be online, and the time will be determined, but it will be December 12th, where it will announce the time of day later. There will also be lights on longest night, and on the eve of the winter solstice, we'll be gathering by candlelight for a time of reflection and connection. Bring your LED candles, wear warm layers, and we'll have limited seating available for folks who need it. Masks are required, and this service is in collaboration between the UU congregations of our church and also All Souls of Braintree. And then also we'll have Christmas Eve lessons and carol services on December 24th on Zoom. We'll have, the time will be announced later. And this is time to join in our homes to share candlelight of Christmas Eve. And most of the service will be filmed inside our church, decorated for the holiday season. We encourage you to dress up if you're interested and decorate your own Zoom box with candles or greenery. And there'll be more details in the weekly announcements. Our church staff is compiling holiday boxes with a few simple gifts to help you bring the UFPC holiday spirit to your own home, including an electric taper candle that you can bring to any of our special holiday services. Boxes will be delivered or mailed to you in early to mid-December.
So together, let's just wish ourselves peace in these many world religions and different cultures, Hebrew, Arabic, Hindu, and Spanish. So just repeat after me. Shalom, salam, shanti, pause, and peace. And now we extinguish our chalice.